Okay, in our time right now, it's exactly 5 minutes past the hour of 8 o'clock here on the Georgie Woods Show, and we'll be here till 10. At 10 o'clock this morning, it's going to be the Louise Williams Gospel Program with Harris and Nelson Riddler.
When thinking about Georgie Woods, you have to remember one thing, and it's a really important thing about American history. Segregation and Jim Crow were not just Southern things. The North was maybe not as segregated as the South, but it was still a fundamentally segregated place.
Segregation. It was segregation, hard and fast. Separate, but certainly not equal. All right. So the thing is African Americans had to make their own worlds. So African Americans had their own theaters, had their own banks, had their own communities that were thriving because segregation dictated that that's what they had to do. That's what had to be done in order to survive. And so just, culture grows out of experience. The culture grows out of the historical realities of a particular group of people. So that historic reality of being segregated, contributed to the growth of this rich culture of music and the like that came out at the time.
Black radio stations became, as Nelson George put it in his book, The Death of Rhythm and Blues, verbal bulletin boards with announcements for lost relatives, children, and pets that were slipped in amongst the ads, the music, and the platter chatter.
Well, he didn't just want it to be like music and jokes, whatever. When he came on the air, if there was something philosophical going on, or if there was some kind of discord in the community, he would always speak on that on his shows. He wasn't afraid to use his microphone to make a difference in the community. But he actually became a voice in the community when something happened, like when Dr. King got assassinated. Everybody turned on Georgie Woods to find out what's going to happen, what are we going to do, and he basically was like a beacon in the community as far as holding people together.
Darling, you send me, I know you.
George Woods was born in Barnett, Georgia, a small rural town. As a child, Woods witnessed the horrors of racism firsthand. His family, like many other families in Barnett, received constant threats from the Ku Klux Klan. The Klan burned a cross in his family's yard. The family then moved to Harlem to escape the racial violence of the South. George, later to become known as Georgie, got his first broadcast job at WWRL in New York City. Later, in 1953, Woods would further his career in Philadelphia at WHAT. After a short time at WHAT, Woods moved to the station he would spend most of his career at, WDAS, in 1956. Woods' first glance at national recognition came in 1957 when he broke You Send Me, a record by R&B singer Sam Cooke. As his career as a disc jockey developed, Woods was nicknamed the guy with the goods, always breaking new records and shifting the direction of the music. In her book, Joyride, Kimberly Roberts described Georgie as the unofficial president of the Black DJs. All Black DJs across the U.S. followed Georgie Woods' footsteps. If he played a record, so did everybody else.
He, and it was almost always a he, would talk about what was going on in the community, what was going on in churches, where things were happening, who was born, who got married. And that became a source of information, but also a trust with the audience. And that kind of morphed in the case of Georgie Woods and others into letting the Black community know of important political events and important political happenings. So in between spinning records, someone like Georgie Woods might let his audience know where a civil rights meeting was. He might let his audience know where, they could go to find a fair mortgage for their house. And by 1963, 1964, in the case of Georgie Woods and others, they would even let them know where to catch the bus to go to the March on Washington, where Martin Luther King gave his famous I Have a Dream speech.
because of segregation, we have to contextualize this segregation, is they couldn't perform in many different places, right? So they were limited in terms of where they could perform. So the Uptown provided that venue, that opportunity in Philadelphia for, black artists to perform.
In the 1950s, Woods began producing shows at the Uptown Theater, featuring bands like the Revels, the Cardinals, the Clovers, and the Cadillacs. According to historian Matthew Delmont, the concerts and record hops established a close relationship between Woods and his teenage audience. In fact, as Delmont argues, Woods' interest in civil rights activism developed out of his experience of working with black teenagers as a DJ and concert promoter. He saw firsthand the struggles of black teens as they had to battle a system of segregated housing and employment opportunities. For Woods, music became a way to raise money and awareness of civil rights. Woods offers a model for what music can achieve beyond commercial success, Delmont writes in his book, The Nicest Kids in Town.
First of all, lyrics, which make up, right? Lyrics are universal. Again, these things. People want fun, people fall in love, people, these are messages that all human beings can relate to, right? So you hear that in the music, the lyrics of a song speak to you, regardless of who's speaking it.
Georgie Woods understood that music could cross the racial divide, but he also understood how easy it could be with the radio. With nothing more than a change of the dial, people could cross the physical barriers of race. They didn't have to sit down on a lunch counter together. They could switch to a different channel and listen to the music of Smokey Robinson. This helps to sort of bring people together, but Woods also realized the limits of this. And so in the early 1960s, he begins to press for civil rights in Philadelphia, really the breaking down of physical barriers between blacks and whites.
When Stephen Girard's college systematically denied the entry of African Americans, Georgie Woods helped to bring awareness to the segregation. As James Spady remembers in his book, he was standing up in a truck, a flatbed truck, with Cecil B. Moore and Freedom George. They were talking about how Girard College would not admit black people and how racist Stephen Girard and the whole system had been. In 1963, during the famous March on Washington, Woods packed and led 21 buses full of protesters to Washington and marched beside Dr. Martin Luther King as they protested segregation in the South. In the same year, Georgie Woods and Nat King Cole headlined a memorial and protest rally in Center City following the bombing of the 16th Street Baptist Church in Birmingham that killed 4 young girls. Georgie Woods hosted freedom shows at the Uptown Theater in the 1960s as a way to raise money for civil rights movements and to donate to organizations such as the NAACP. These shows would generate lines down the street and feature the likes of Stevie Wonder, Martha and the Vandellas, Deion Jackson, and more. A year later, on August 28, 1964, after the police pull over a woman and words are exchanged, a rumor spreads around North Philadelphia claiming the police beat a pregnant black woman. In response, some members of the African American community began to riot, looting stores and flooding the streets. Later that night, Woods was called upon by Police Commissioner Howard Leary to defuse the situation and calm down the rioters. James Spady writes, "During the riots in 1964, Woods arrived in an automobile equipped with a microphone and loudspeaker and rode through the streets begging, 'Please get off the streets and into your houses. If you have problems, this is no way to solve them.'" Georgie's multi-platformed involvement in the civil rights movement helped bridge the gap between entertainer and activist, helping to pioneer a new wave of radio hosts and exemplifying the unsung role black DJs played in the civil rights movement.
The masses are almost totally dependent on radio as their means of relating to the society at large. They do not read newspapers. Television speaks not to their needs, but to upper middle class America. No one knows the importance of the consistent fundraising and voter education done for the Southern Christian Leadership Conference and the Civil Rights Movement by Georgie Wood, my good friend of Philadelphia. Tonight I want to say thank you, not just to these few, but to all of you who have given leadership to our people in thousands of unknown and unsung ways. We would certainly not have come so far without your support. In a real sense, you have paved the way for social and political change by creating a powerful cultural bridge between black and white.